I'll run through the late fees. This is how we do the late fees now. Instead of the two different screens, we have a power form. Left side are the different fees, interest records that we set up. Again, the same concept. You click on it, you see the details on the right. Setup is based on a lot of the different information on the header side of it. All the standard stuff that's in the standard JD Edwards module is included. We just took that as the base and built everything else on top of that. So a lot of the same stuff you used to set up is still there. It uses the same table that the late fee module uses now, except for we have a tag file attached to that adds all the other information that we keep track of. So if they've already got partially set up or played with setting it up, we could use it, what they've already got in the JD Edwards table, and we just use our piece that kind of sits over the top of that, add some more data to it, and then we can reuse it. But you can set it up. Part of this is like what you could on the old module, by lease, by tenant. You can do it by building. We've got a few extra things. We got the bill code or a bill code group. We can group it together, and also by doc type. So if you want to include this fee is only for a certain doc type, for all buildings or for a certain building, you can set it up to that level. So added a few extra levels in there to set up to pull the data. And this middle part, there's some new features here that's outside of the standard, which is I can do a compare type. Almost all of them have this. They all want to take the greater of an amount or a percent or lesser of equal to. It's right out of the box now. They can do, like this example, I want to take less of $100 or 5%. And it will calculate, using the FCM in the background, it does the logic to say, here's what the one it should be. I calculated 150 with the percent. My flat amount's 100, so it passes $100 in towards the calculation. So we kind of go across there. I'll explain a couple more of those. The plus or minus, where the customer wants to say, I want to take the lesser of $100 or 5% plus minus prime. So they could actually say prime interest rate. So in that formula bill code, we could put the prime interest rate bill code, say plus or minus there, and it would take the 5%, add that to that bill code, and now I've got my kind of true up, which that's pretty common calculation in late fees is I want to take prime plus 2% or 3% or whatever it is. You can set that up however you need to for those. The rates go pretty much the same as the standard product, monthly, daily, or annually. The rate indicator code there is the only different one is ours. It says it's an FCM bill code formula, just so you can still use the standard ones that JD Edwards has, and then if you fill in some of those other fields, it defaults automatically to an FCM because we know if you fill in one of our fields, it's going to kick off one of our functions. So the user doesn't have to know to go change it to select FCM. It will automatically change it for them. And then we added a couple of fields there for a minimum charge and a minimum type. So if there's happened to be a minimum outside of the things at the top, where it's minimum $25 or minimum of 5%, whatever, you can set that up. Same for the maximum. And then the BCD and code is still the same as the standard JD Edwards module. And kind of the center section here, we'll kind of run through these pieces. Most of this is pretty much the same as the old module. The only difference we had really is if you get down the bottom right, we're a charge once and a charge frequency. Charge once, we have customers where they can charge us one late fee, this particular type of late fee, one time per invoice or per late that they're late for that account, for that lease. So that's what the charge frequency can do. It can be by invoice, by account. So I think there's like 3 or 4 different ways you can group the amount. And then if you want to charge once by that group, you can. Or if you just leave the charge once unchecked, it charges a late fee based off of what your charge frequency is. So if you say per invoice, it's going to go out and charge, look at this calculation of and charge that for each invoice that's outstanding. But if you say it's for open amount, it's just going to look at what's open and then do the calculation based on what's open. So you have kind of the choice of how you want to build the calculation. These two pieces here cover probably 95 to 98% of the late fees that we've come across in the real estate group. We can cover pretty much all of them with these two pieces in this module. And where we can't do that, you can actually leave these other fields blank and fill in that formula bill code and do a generic formula that kicks out to the FCM and it'll do any calculation you want based on the FCM itself. We handle those through just a standard formula through the bill code. So cover lots of things to it. In here, we've added, you've got the grace periods and the grace period type. So you can put in, grace period of 10 days, and it doesn't do the calculation until after the 10 days. Maximum period type, payment terms, that's all part of the standard module. The bottom part we added, which is new, is you have some of the tenants, they give them what's called allowed late. Is this tenant can be late 3 times in a year before we start charging them a late. You can set up a default as they get this particular building. Everybody in this building gets 3 allowed late. The system will keep track of those during the calculation. It shows how many lates are remaining, and you can set up how it's reset. It's based on a calendar year, it's a rolling 12 months, or if it's based on lease renewal. So you can set it up where the system will automatically write off the late fee that's calculated. So just to give you a little detail on what it does is, so if a customer has allowed late, there is a processing option you can set up that tells the system to either just delete the late fee out of the system completely, just kind of ignore it, don't charge it, and then keep track of it. Or I want you to create the late fee, and then I want to see an offset entry to credit that back out, so I can show that on the tenant statement that he was charged a late fee, but based on his late allowed on the contract, we refunded that back to his account. They can set it up however they want to, but this allows them to automatically set that up so they don't have to keep track of these allowed lates in the system and go back and try to give credit hour saver for manpower saver by being able to set these options up in the system. That's pretty much the late fee module. Pretty well covers almost all the late fees I think that they come across. When we narrow down the formulas, and you think about formulas, most of them, all the formula was the same. The only thing different was these variables in the middle was like $100 and 5%, almost $75 and 3%. Just the variables are different. The formulas was the same. We got them down to, I think, right now we're at 20 formulas out of the 2,000. 20 different type of formulas set up. We got them down they were up over 1,000 different formulas. They had 240 different formulas customized, and then the rest of them, they basically had to do best fit. They just didn't have it in their system to do it. We got them down to 12 formulas. So 12 base formulas, 12 base setups, and you can create templates here too. It's kind of grayed out, but it's a template. So all the different scenarios, we create a template for them, or they can create it. And then if it comes up again, a customer comes in, they've got another building, it's like, oh, this is just like, my less up 5% or $100. I just go break and load the template, it defaults it in, they can fill in the unique stuff at the top, and they're done. And they kind of fill in their beginning dates and end dates. Those are down there, so they start and finish, and just let it go at that point. So one other piece we added to that, which was pretty slick too, is we took it one step further where those customers that need to be able to manage those late fees after they've been generated. They had different approvals that they would go through. They're in the middle of lease renewals or negotiation. They want to get this tenant to renew their lease. We took the general batch review screen, which consisted of 3 screens. We brought that back into one PowerForm where you can manage all of it from one screen. Put in the batch at the top, you click on the batch, the bottom left shows you the batch review. You click on that, and it shows you the billing revisions on the right. But it also has buttons up there to reverse the charge. And there's an example here on the screen. I can go in and I can reverse it at the billing revisions level, so one item at a time, or over at the batch review level, I can just reverse the whole thing. And I can reverse it based on a UDC code or a reason code. I can keep track of it and say, I reverse this late fee because they're preferred customer or whatever we want to call the UDC. What they would do is some of those tenants just that had allowed late, you can see the allowed lates in here. It would automatically see like this in the system where it's automatically reversed it back out if they set the processing up to do so. But they could go in and review what was there and then automatically reverse that one entry without having to go out into late fees, turn it off, rerun late fees, and then turn it back on. I think it was wasn't it like 3 or 4 days out of their schedule just by having this one screen to be able to manage those. They were doing it by reports. They had to run everything, keep it out there pending, run reports, review reports, then go back in like, this tenant don't want to, so we got to go delete it, rerun it. So it's just a major pain. It's pretty well covered all that with late. All your late fees pretty much should be covered through that.